OK. And it's asking projection west. So I select my west. Projection north. Select my north. Projection east. Select my east. And now if I go holding down the shift and select all those elements, I can right click and say activate. And so now when I exit the sketch, those elements, which are referring to my original perimeter sketch, are going to be driven by the perimeter sketch. I'm going to do the same thing in my grid sketch. I'm going to enter the sketch. I'm going to double click under Use Edges, Projection South, select my south, projection east, east, north, north, west, west. And the last thing it's using two elements from the partition sketch. So offset east, I'm going to find my offset east element under outputs and partitions. And offset west under outputs under partitions. And I'm going to hold down shift, select all those, and say active, and exit the sketch. And while we're doing that, let's save the file and make sure that we're saving. Now, now we have those created. I want to just show real quick how we can create beams from those edges. We'll pick up things in the next session. We'll finish up the beams and columns. I'm sorry that we're running a little. It's running a little longer than I anticipated. But the next session will get a little more into to that, and also we'll get into walls and wall openings. So if we want to create a column or a beam, I should say, what we can do is use this multi-support beam tool. And if we select the, let me go back a step. Sorry about that. Go back a step. One thing we need to do is create grid axes from these grid lines in order to drive the beams. So what I'm going to do is go to my grid here, and I'm going to select the second option, the plan option here. And this is going to be my one set of axes. I'm going to go over to my grid and outputs, and I'm going to select one direction, which is A through I. And I'm going to select the grid axes tool here. And it's going to say multiple, so now it's going to create multiple axes all at the same time with the same name as the output lines that I originally created. And I'm going to create a second plan grid, and this is going to contain the grid in the other direction. So now I have two grids. And last thing I want to do is create an intersection grid. And now I can get points, I can get intersection points from all these grid lines. It's a very quick way of getting a column grid. So I go to Grid Intersection. I select my first plan grid and my second plan grid and click OK. And it's going to instantly create all these points which have the proper names for the intersection of the grid. And this is a very important and very powerful tool for BIM modeling, because not only are these intersection points now quickly defined, but you can easily locate them. And if you use these elements for columns and to locate different objects, you can instantly know, based on this point, where that column is located. It refers to the point that that it was created from. So now I'm going to create some columns. So I'm going to go to my column tool, and before I click the column tool, I want to multi-select the points I'm gonna use. So in this case, and at this point it doesn't really matter. You just hold down the Control button and select some points that you think make sense. So I'm going to select various points here. Holding down the Control button, I see that they're all selected. Now I'm going to click the column tool, and right away I see a preview of the columns that it's going to create. If I go, and you can see it says multiple here, so I've got a multiple selection. So go over to circular and make that a radius of 3 inches. So that's a 6-inch column. And I go down to the bottom field here. I'm going to select my XY plane. And the top is going to be defined by this surface here. So this is already a pretty powerful tool, because you can have this complex surface driving the tops of these columns, and if you change the surface, the columns will instantly update. Now click OK. And the last thing I'm going to do real quick is show how to make a set of beams. We'll get into creating the rest of the beams and editing the beams so that everything touches everything properly. So I'm going to go to multi-support beam tool down here, and I'm going to select my align tool. So you see the align option here. I'm going to select the different, at least one direction, holding down the Control button. It appears that there's a window that's not appearing, maybe because my screen is too small. Um,